what about this market? It's become a little boring, a little dull, a little calm. Is that a buyer's market?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, both sides of that argument can be made. You know, when volatility is low, it can stay low. It can be persistently low. At other times, it indicates a good deal of complacency. And so what we like to try to do is take the sort of totality of the circumstances, if you will, and look not just the calm as a measure of complacency, but look at the overall picture. And so some of the things that we're seeing that make us a little bit nervous are, for example, sector dispersion has picked up quite a bit. We see weakness in places like retail, like energy, obviously energy because of oil prices, but in metals and mining, and small caps, for example. We've seen to some extent underperform. And we think valuations are obviously fairly rich here, both in the S&P and small caps. And the argument has been that that's okay because earnings have been so strong. But the fact of the matter is that earnings really, for the past, let's call it 6 or 7 quarters, in our view, have not been the driver. It really has been global monetary policy away from the Fed, and the Fed passing the baton over to the BOJ and the ECB in particular.
Yes, now you specifically asked this question in one of your recent notes. What happens when central bank policy, which had been sort of synchronous, now becomes asynchronous or starts to diverge?
Right. Well, obviously we try to look to historical analogs. So we look at the last time that the ECB shrank its balance sheet from about 4 to 3 trillion euros. The difference then was that was in 2013. And at the same time, the Fed actually decided it was the right thing to do to grow its balance sheet by about $1 trillion. And so there was a policy offset there. Now it appears that if the ECB were to shrink its balance sheet, in fact, the ECB would be normalizing, the Fed would be normalizing, and so then we'd have the BOJ, which is sort of swimming upstream anyway, just with respect to the Japanese economy in isolation.